Hello everyone and welcome back to Cosmo's Universe. My name is Matt and today we are back for another episode of Matt Matters where we will be walking down memory lane. I'm feeling quite nostalgic. You might remember the original version of this video if you've been around since then. Now originally I used notebooks to help me with these videos. I had those thought books, I don't know if you guys remember me waving them on the screen. But now I have this. And there's a certain chapter within this book which inspired me to make this video, so I'm going to be using that for research. Regardless of all that though, in this video I will be exploring the different types of memory that a human can demonstrate, and also the ways that you can help remember pretty much anything. Let's go. So the memory is the faculty of the mind which stores information, specifically the part of the brain we call the cerebral cortex. This is the part of the brain that's responsible for memory, consciousness, language, all that kind of stuff. You see, memory can come in a few different types. You can basically categorize these into sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. So, sensory memory is simply a sensual memory. Duh. These are memories which last barely a second because they're simply memorized through the senses, and the senses, your eyes, your ears, your nose, they're constantly operating, so that memory is soon replaced by something newer. Sparklers are a good example of this. If you saw my firework video in the vlog, you'll know what I mean. It leaves that kind of light trail, and it's hard to see on camera, but when in real life you're holding a sparkler, you can wave it around and see that light trail, and that is sensory memory, because the light trail you're seeing is actually from less than a second ago, but your eyes are still seeing it because they don't work quite as fast as light. Things like the colour of cars whizzing by on a motorway are recorded by your senses regardless, even if you're not making the effort to try and remember them. They'll be there for a split second. Short-term memory. Like sensory memory, this memory does decay quite quickly, but it lasts longer, maybe 20 to 60 seconds, depending on circumstances or interferences with the person's brain. Things like remembering a telephone number at a glance, unless you use a memory technique, we'll come on to that later. A healthy human adult can store maybe 4 to 7 things this way, but that's just an average. Long-term memory, unlike the other two, has no known limits. Things from as little as hours to as long as decades in the past can be remembered. The more important or the more frequently repeated, the more likely they will be remembered. Long-term memory can actually be subdivided again into multiple categories. Implicit memories are unconscious and procedural memories of how to use a computer, how to drive a car, walk, all kinds of things that your body just sort of learns to do, as a very young person and become a kind of automatic response as part of your life. Explicit memories, on the other hand, it's a memory of specific events and a pure knowledge. Things like childhood memories, exam revision, names, numbers, specific stuff that you've consciously made the effort to remember or are just so important they stick in your mind. Sometimes they are remembered simply for what they are. Sometimes you need memory techniques to help remember them. But memory, your brain, is plastic. Technically it's carbon, but the point is it can be manipulated. The brain can be trained to remember things better or become better at certain things. That's why people specialise in whatever their profession is. Duh. Here is a list of all kinds of memory techniques that even you can use to help remember things more efficiently. Firstly, link memories together. Linking things together can make them easier to remember sometimes, and I'm going to be reading out the examples from this book, which I've copied onto my note thingy. So the example is, you've met a girl whose favourite perfume is Chanel No. 5, and you want to buy her a bottle for Christmas, let's say. Is No. 5 your lucky number? Shirt number on the school sports team? House number? You've got to link things together, so say if 5 is relevant somewhere else in your life, by remembering that, you can remember to get the bottle for Christmas, but that's just hypothetical. You could apply it with anything, as long as there's two things which are linked in some way. Next up is periodic reminders. Sometimes what really helps is just repeating things. Repeating things helps remember them, and as time goes on, you'll need to repeat things less and less frequently. Say you've got an item that you need to remember in your head, you can review it after a few seconds, then a few more seconds, then a minute or so, then a few minutes, then a few more minutes, then an hour, and you see how it just keeps going up each gap between the kind of revision, I guess. And it'll come to the point where they only need to go back on that memory once every few years to be able to remember it. And this could be, I don't know, a phone number, an address, something like that. Another one which helps your neural connection significantly is chunking. Sometimes you just need to break memory up into sort of bite-sized pieces, if you like. Hey guys, will you look at that, the sun came out. It's It's making my face really bright. As I was saying, the next technique is called chunking. Sometimes you just need to break up memories into bite-sized pieces. I'm going to read out the example from here because I didn't actually copy it onto here. There's quite a lot to say. So, a useful method for items like strings of numbers, addresses, etc. Imagine you need to remember a 12-digit bank card number. 196674722199. It will be a lot easier to fix in your memory if you divide it up into sections. And this also comes back to linking memories, because get this. If you divide it so 1966, 7472, and 2199, you can then attach some meaning to each chunk. So, if you want to remember the first chunk, 1966, 1966 was the year that England won the World Cup in football. That might be a significant date for some people. The next chunk, 747, is, you know, a jumbo jet. What else would you link it to? Then conveniently, the next part is 221, which is, of course, Sherlock Holmes' number on Baker Street. And then the last one's 99. And then it says red balloons here. And I don't get that. What's 99 got to do with red balloons? Personally, I choose like the flake ice cream, you know, the 99s. The next one we're going to go on to now is called mnemonics. Simple verbal tricks, almost always acronyms, I think. Richard of York gave battle in vain. Never eat shredded wheat. I mean, there's a few variations on some of those. I'm sure there's plenty more. Comment in the comment section below if you know any mnemonics. Puzzles and memory games. And this isn't just a thing you can do with your brain. This is a little more, rather than being for specific memories, Sudokus, crosswords are a good way to preserve the faculty of the mind and have been scientifically proven to fend off conditions such as Alzheimer's disease. So basically, by training your brain with certain brain games, then really you can sort of generally improve the way your brain kind of reasons and holds things together. And actually, it's a good website for this called Brain Bashes. It has loads of like games and puzzles on there. You should totally check it out. So I'm gonna leave a link in the description. It is one of those like flash game websites, kind of, but it's more fun than it's more educational. And finally, the last one is a bit more complicated. So I'm going to spend the rest of the video talking about this. Have you ever watched Sherlock or read any Sherlock Holmes book? I mean, I'm a pretty big fan. I read all of them. Sherlock Holmes has a thing he calls a mind palace, which has also been referred to as a memory palace, the Roman room, or the method of Loki. It goes under a lot of names. The way it works is by using your intimate knowledge of a place. It could be a single room, it could be a building, it could be maybe even a bit more than that. It creates a sort of memory bank, like a virtual world inside your brain, by kind of using imagery to help you remember things. Here, let's do an example right now. Imagine a childhood home, or a school, or a workplace, or even just one room. Somewhere that means a lot to you. It could be outdoors, it doesn't really matter. You have to think of somewhere that you're very familiar with. You have to fix a route through this place with no changes and no deviations. And through this place, there will be all kinds of details you remember. But the place isn't the memory, it's the storage of the memory. That's what you need to remember. You need to remember the place, but it doesn't matter if it's rough, it doesn't match the reality. You're not trying to remember a place in real life. The place can be made up entirely from your head for all we care. Through here, you can hang what are called memory pegs, pieces of information in order where you can access them at any time, simply by travelling along the route. It's example time. Let's say you've opted for your childhood home. It's a good choice. You need to fix firmly in your mind a route through the house, like I said before. So in this, let's say hypothetically, you start with your key to the front door. You open the door and step into the hallway, and then you plot a path, take in all the different rooms upstairs and downstairs, and once you have the route established, you can use it again and again, and every time there is a new list of information you want to memorize. So the trick is to keep going the same way. So, you know, you don't skip over any parts, because if you don't go the same way every time, then the memory is kind of weaker and the neural connections are kind of loose. If there are more things to remember than there are rooms in the house, consider developing a system so as you walk your route, you take in several features in each room. For instance, rather than associating only one thing in the kitchen, you could picture your fridge, the kitchen table, the toaster, and the sink. That's space for 4 new things, so in one room you can have plenty of things if you really want to. So now each of the familiar elements on your route is known as a memory peg. Like I said before, the job is now to hang an item you wish to remember on a different peg. Let's say you're off to the shops. You can't find a pen, so you need to carry the shopping list in your head. First item's a bottle of milk, which we'll place on the front doorstep. That's a memory peg. Then the next is a newspaper, which will conveniently slot into the letterbox. Next is half a dozen eggs. These we place on the living room mantelpiece to use in the place of vases. Meanwhile, the shirt you want to buy is hanging in the front room window where the curtains normally are. it doesn't really matter how weird things get in your memory palace. In fact, the stranger things are, the easier they are to remember. The more you use this technique, the more elements you'll be able to remember. Some experts claim to be able to recall hundreds of things in this manner, and we all know Sherlock Holmes has got loads in there. And that is pretty much it. So, before we end the video, of course, we'll have, you know, the typical bibliography scrolling past. There probably isn't a lot on it because pretty much all of this was from the book, but I think I did use a couple of websites to find about the different types of memory, so you can go check those out. If anything, I would recommend getting this book because it's really interesting if you want to kind of train your brain a little bit. And that's it. I hope this video helped. Honestly, I don't really do half these things on a regular basis, but finding what works for you can keep your brain strong, and who knows, maybe you'll find a use for these specific to you. Using just one of these, especially that memory palace, could really strengthen your memory. Say, I ought to be going off to my mind palace right now. Hold up. Okay, so we leave the like button on the door handle to the front door, then we come in, go up the stairs to the bathroom where we have the subscribe button, and we'll put the notification bell hanging above the shower. Yeah, that'll do. I'll wash the notification bell. Then we'll have the share option near the description in the adjourning room, which is my bedroom. We'll just put that just on the floor. That'll do. That way I'll remember so I don't trip over it. And then lastly, I think the comments section, we'll put that in the corridor outside Mum and Dad's room. Why not? I don't know. But seriously guys, if you did enjoy, you already know. Guys, until the next time, bye bye.